Okay, so we've been doing a lot of traveling, you and I.
Yeah.
Together, which is great because we're doing more in person. Look, we take that big sigh.
Do you not like me?
It's been fabulous.
It's actually one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorite things about traveling with you. You're a fun person to travel
You
with.
are too.
And it's like we have this ability to be super honest with each other. So like when you're sick of me, you can say it. And
yeah.
like
If we get quiet, we get quiet.
Yeah.
Or you say, I'm going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I love that too. So in our traveling with each other, sometimes we just have funny things that happen in travel, but and usually we share our like stupid stories, but I forgot to tell you this one. So, and I have no idea if you might even think it's funny, but it was funny to me. It happened in my room. Okay. So I'm getting ready. So first of all, let's just back up a little bit. It's related to this. You know how sometimes you've heard this joke, and I've done it before, so I'm curious if you have, where you've been like holding the phone, and while talking to someone say, hold on a minute, I'm trying to find my phone. Has that ever happened to you?
Sure.
Okay. It's so stupid, right?
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck just happened to my brain?
I do it more with hats. Like if I have a hat on and then I'm looking for the hat.
Okay, mine is like in the realm of that. The other one leading up to it is I have actually, as I've gotten older, I'm really quite blind now. I have actually had a pair of glasses on and tried to put a pair of readers over it. Yes. Like I've clunked my glasses and been like, dude, you already have them on. You can see blind. Oh my God. So that one has embarrassed me alone in a space. This one cracked me up. I was getting ready for whatever we were about to do, probably teach amazing stuff.
Probably change some lives. Right? But anyway.
I was getting ready. And so, I was about to lean into the mirror and put lotion underneath my eyes, which is a very, thing that we do so we don't look old in the eyes as we age. So I lean in and dab my finger in the lotion on my hand, and I go and put it on my glasses.
Yes. Yeah. I can't believe you did that. Yes.
What? I don't even know what to think about myself in that area. And that was incredibly vulnerable.
What did you do right after that?
Burst into laughter and embarrassment of my own self.
No, see, I love that because sometimes I do laugh out loud when I'm by myself. And then I think, wait, that was weird. Are you supposed to laugh when you're by yourself?
Yes, I humor myself most often.
Yeah.
I literally took the glasses off and I looked at them and there was like what happened to my brain there, Steve? Oh man,
that is hilarious.
That's really vulnerable, wasn't it?
Well, here's my new theory on life. I think people like you everyone has these stories. You'll actually share them. Which I think is great because it's like you'll be at a party or dinner or something and you share that and then other people open up with their good stories. They weren't going to say them unless you did. So I think it's good.
Maybe someone else listening has put lotion on their glasses.
Yeah, please.
I would really love to know actually.
DM us about
please.
We want.
Oh God. Okay. So I just was dying to tell you that story, but I guess I wasn't dying in the moment. I think I hid it in my brain for a while, but
no, that's a good one. You didn't tell me that.
So I'd like to transition a bit to tell you about this amazing member that I'm coaching right now. For a quick shout out, Ashley, who is a new business owner. So you can relate to a lot of these feelings.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting coaching her around writing down a process of something that she does every single day. So that what I mean by that is if you are, if you have these 6 steps that you do every day before you do the actual thing that your business is selling, right? Yeah. She was doing them every single day, but had never written them out and was working too hard in her brain and probably missing stuff sometimes missing it or afraid they were going to miss it. Yep. But it was the same 6 things every time. So working with a coach made her realize, oh my gosh, write them down and create a process of these 6 key things that you must do before this begins, because it eliminates this anxiety and fear over I might forget or I might lose track or something like that. It was such a great, simple takeaway.
Yeah. I think for me, starting Greenhouse was I'm not a natural, detailed, organized person. And so I got really good at systems because it was survival. But now I love that stuff. And I love seeing people put them into place because it's like a simple checklist can be a game changer for a business.
Yeah. I became a nerd in that area because of you. I think it was
You're
somewhere
welcome.
in me,
Yeah.
but you kind of like sucked it out of my soul now that I get super excited when people do it too. Like
Yeah.
I am a nerd in that area now where I'm like, look at that girl step into that process.
Well, that's okay. So let me just say, like, I hate the word like step into your potential. It feels so, I don't know, right? But I don't know a replacement for it. So I still use it, and we use it at Greenhouse because I don't know how else to call these types of things where like she had the capability of nailing that process, those steps every time and making her business grow and be awesome.
Yes.
The only thing standing between that and where she currently was stuck was a checklist.
I
mean, literally, like I have clients do this in Trello, create a checklist template that you can copy paste for every one of these things.
Yeah.
Or copy paste it every week to start over on that process. That's all that was standing in the way of her like having all this success and all this cool stuff from the business working. Like that's what I see when I hear that phrase,
Yeah,
like
so-
stepping into your potential.
Well,
It was
maybe we
right
just need
there.
to call it stepping into your process. Ooh.
But yeah, it's like that idea that it's
Still
like,
so
it
dull.
was right there.
It was.
It's not far off.
No.
It was just a matter of her, that one conversation with you and then making a checklist.
It was best. Great.
That's
it was an
cool.
awesome coaching moment. All right. Well, let's answer one of our questions today. This one is the question around it's interesting. How do I convey my personality in a remote interview? So by the way, I get this question sometimes without the word remote.
Well, I was just thinking it could also be remote meeting, like virtual meeting.
Right. It's like, right. Because
Zoom, being on Zoom and being human.
yeah.
Is that what they're getting at?
Yeah, yeah. How do we do that? And I think that the word interview was specifically asked from our listeners because it's such an important moment.
That's true. This is like a specific question for job search.
Yeah, in that sense, but you can translate it very well into like how you just show up. Like just because we're on a screen doesn't mean that our personalities should disappear. But we do see it sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, I struggled with that a lot early in COVID because I'm not like you're very expressive with your face. So I think some things just off the bat worked better for you on Zoom, where someone like me I'm thinking a lot, I'm actually feeling a lot usually, but I don't show it on my face naturally. And then I started seeing, I was like, oh man,
you look mad.
I got to work on this.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I would start out with asking you and I to discuss just a little bit about what's the same and what's different. So let's just think about what's the same about reflecting and showing our personalities remote versus in person.
Yeah.
What's the same? What's different?
Well, just one of the obvious, like one thing that's the same is the audio portion. So assuming your internet connection is stable, it's like, it's still your voice and it still pretty much sounds the same as it would have in person.
Right.
So I think that's like an obvious stayed the same.
Yep.
But one thing that's different is you're not picking up on all the cues when you don't have someone's full body language. You're not in the same space. There's even, I mean, this is not woo. This is like hard science on this, like frequencies.
Yeah.
Like, lights give off frequencies, so do our bodies. And so I think that's what you and I have sensed when we stopped facilitating groups in person during COVID. And it was like very evident to us that you lost so much of the magic in the room that does have to do with like, you feel other people's presence. So I think that is lost in the remote interview.
And the frequencies is a hard one to get back.
So let's talk about the frequencies. Because it sounds so fake, but it's a real thing.
I didn't get that job because our frequencies didn't, like that.
It's like such a write-off. Well, I mean, they
there was
really
the whole
wanted me, but the frequencies were a little
off. And, they couldn't get my frequencies. It was remote.
It was a remote frequency. In fact, they had a bunch of remotes in the basket and didn't know which one to use. I was like, I don't know. I wish there was a universal remote. Like, they grabbed Netflix. I grabbed Sony. It was a mismatch.
It was a total mismatch, right? Oh, God.
Anyway.
What's the same? What's different? Let's see what else.
One of our coaches, Rebecca, she's newer to the team. So for anyone listening, she's really awesome. She's a Canadian.
Yep.
And the Canadians are bringing the love and niceness to the team. So she's very kind of like, she's a little more, what would you say? Like kind of linear and very put together. She's very formal is the word I'm looking for.
Clear and succinct about what it is that she's saying.
That's a good way of saying it. You and I, we had a meeting the other day, and afterwards she's like, I was just laughing all day. I was just loving the like the Sunny Steve thing going on. And I was like,
oh God,
what? We were just talking. She's like,
ripped.
I was just cracking up all day. I don't know, because we go on these little tangents.
We do. And then we have to pull ourselves back in.
As I'm trying to do
right,
here.
Right. Okay. So I'm pulling us back in.
Okay.
What's the same? What's different? What's the same as we both have eyeballs looking at someone or something.
Okay. True.
Our voices need to be heard, right? What's the same? What's different? I'm still somewhat reading your cues and you're reading mine, right? That's the same.
Mm-hmm.
What's just different, you're right, it's just that we're not in the same physical space and we can't shake hands, we can't take a walk together, we can't do that small talk sometimes. That happens on the way to the door. Yep. It's like, boom, you're on. I feel like that's one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, and I think psychologically, I mean, I don't know, I haven't like read any studies yet, but I think there's an element of feeling like you're performing when you see yourself on a screen, especially you and I are used to like seeing ourselves on video and stuff, and it's still hard. Some people, that's a brand new thing. So you see your face. That's why we say sometimes turn your tile off.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like you're performing, which puts you in a different mental state.
It does. And thank you for mentioning that one. And if we've mentioned on other episodes, this one freaks people out. They're like, no way, I cannot do it. I'm like, what are you afraid of? That you're going to like move drastically to the left or to the right and no longer be in the view?
Oh, sometimes if I feel like a meeting's too stiff, I purposely drop my pen on the floor. So I have to like go off camera to grab it just to like break up the tension, you know?
Yeah.
There's a thing there.
I was just going to tell you that the release of energy instantly, once I center myself and I think I'm in the square, my background looks okay. And then I turn my self view off. I can actually feel like a 15% energy increase in myself because I am not distracted by myself.
Yeah.
I always say, come on, in a meeting, you're not looking at yourself. I'm not looking at myself right now talking to you.
Yeah.
So I'm not distracted by myself. I'm just looking at you.
Well, and that's, I think you're going to talk more about this, but I think that's one of the things that's different too, is it is hard to like, it feels like you're not looking at each other because if you're watching the other person, your eyes are not on the camera.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And so that part is tricky too.
Oh, it is. That one's a really tough one. So I really felt like I was going to just try to, again, we've been talking about remote stuff forever. I feel like people have generally gotten pretty good at this, don't you? You agree? They've generally, but
I don't know. I feel like people are still asking a lot of questions and like, how does this stuff work? Hybrid culture and remote meetings. And so anyway.
Yeah, that part we're still asking a lot of questions about.
I think you're so familiar with this topic, but a lot of people are going to love what you're about to share. So,
well, I broke it down into three things,
Okay.
Just body language, your environment, and authenticity. So that's what I broke it down into. So let me just focus really quick on the first one, which is body language. So eyes. You asked me, listener, how to get my personality out more. Well, guess what? Our eyes are a form of expression. So show expression in your eyes. Like practice it. Look at yourself and think, am I showing some sort of expression in my eyes? And then, yes, look at the person on the screen, but every once in a while, look up directly at the camera.
Yeah, I write myself a note for that sometimes because I forget that one.
You don't have to do it the whole time because I am trying to look at your body language too, but I also don't want to be looking like way off to the left. You know, we have some people who put their cameras like weirdly. Don't do that for an interview.
Oh yeah, I had a meeting with someone once who had 2 monitors and was a more technical person, so just didn't think about it because all day they're kind of switching monitors and it's like the camera was on the left monitor and he was looking at me on the right monitor. So I felt like the whole time he was talking to somebody else. Like he was just eager to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. These little tips that I'm going to throw into the body language part, by the way, are things you practice over time that you just one at a time, you say, hey, I'm going to just think about this and I'm going to think about that, but not all of these at once.
Yeah.
But I want to throw them out there so the listener knows what to practice. So then the next one is just your voice. If you want to show your personality, don't be monotone. I always say have natural highs and natural lows. Know when to bring it up, bring to energize the conversation, then know when to bring it down. And then the last tip in the voice too is like we talk fast when we're kind of motivating and then we slow down to make a point. So you got to practice it. Do you agree? Like, don't save that moment for interviewing.
Yeah. So this is good because I am your subject in this one. Like, this is something I will be working on forever and ever. So give me a tip of like how to begin practicing on that stuff because I don't know, it's just busy every day and that slips.
So I intentionally decide and during my day, where is low hanging fruit lie? some meeting with a bunch of people virtually where I'm not the lead. And I always think just when you have that opportunity to ask a question, think, what am I going to do with my voice? And maybe my sticky note says natural highs, natural lows. And just that's it. So you just have to, just like all things in our lives that change, it's usually about raising your intentionality.
Okay.
At the dinner table. So that's not remote, but at the dinner table when you're talking with your partner or your kids, just think, am I having natural highs and natural lows in my voice?
No, that's helpful to think, pick a time and place I'm going to try it versus feeling like, okay, from here on forward, I always got to nail this.
Yeah. And then you'll start to feel like it's a part of you. All right. So the next one was just body language and hands, just our body. Obviously our bodies kind of half disappear on remote. But to me, this is about, it's sitting up straight, not slouching back, and just knowing when to lean in. So I lean into my camera sometimes when I'm making just like the highs and the lows and the motivating and the point. When I'm making my point, sometimes I lean into the camera. Not like an obnoxious, just, you're right. We can do all kinds of things there.
She's so interested.
I can't even lean because this microphone is inhibiting me. But I just move in. I just move in just a little bit. So you'll know what I mean. Just lean in and then sit right back. And then use your hands. I think that is the big thing. I notice that people on Zoom, it's like their hands just disappear. So put them back into that box. Pop them up every once in a while, or that's an interesting thought, or, flash.
Yeah.
Actually, and observe. Do you like when other people notice what they do with their hands? Just bring them into the picture.
I'm picturing kind of trying, like, you know how little kids just do these weird body movements all the time?
Yes.
Like they'll just be sitting there like doing I'm picturing like on the screen, just trying to get my hands and my arms into the box. So I'm like doing this weird contortions.
Right.
I think SNL had a skit like that once and it was
great.
So good.
So my points there were eyes. Now we're going to move on to just environment. This feels like a no-brainer, but just like you said, I think we do it all the time. Just prep your background. Think ahead what's behind you and what could come, and then light up your face. Just those two things. So I don't even need to go much further. That just is going to make you show up sharper and, I don't know, highlight whatever personality you're wanting to have come out there.
Yeah.
The last one really is, to me, the most important one is be authentic. And people are like, okay, how? It's that whole, I have that podcast out there that says be yourself with a twist. So I'm not asking you to be that so authentic where you show up in a t-shirt and shorts. No, I want you to show up prepared and in your interviewed mode. But what I mean with authentic is the world is so forgiving now with things that just happen. Just even your illustration, you drop a pen, don't make it nervous. Just pick it up and say, I dropped my pen. If you're about to drop something, say it. If a kid walks in, just say, so sorry. Kid just walked in. Hold on just 1 minute. You are a human being. And that human moment is not going to be the thing that makes or breaks you getting. In fact, sometimes that authentic moment and how you handle it is often the part that makes you memorable.
I agree. I think that's a huge point because we tend to think, well, this is a really formal setting. It's an interview. But the other person is also human and they are an emotional being. And so when there is a little more human connection, that is going to impact them. Like that is actually going to influence them, even if they're trying to be super professional.
Right. It's just going to. It does roll back to my point number 2, where the environment, though, do your best to prepare your environment. Tell your kids about to go in an interview, shut the door, or put your pet away if you're afraid they're going to become a barker. But however, if you forget and they bark, just pause. Yeah. Put your dog away. It's like, just own your moments. Don't become, I hate it when, go ahead.
Well, okay. I thought you were going here. My favorite example is you and I were speaking on stage at a conference one time. And I love this story. And so you
I forgot the clicker.
You didn't have the clicker and you started and kind of went to click the slide and nothing. And you're like, I don't have the clicker.
And there was 300 people out there.
And so a lot of people would freeze and kind of whatever. And then, fret about that the rest of their life. And you just did exactly that. You owned the moment. You kind of made a little joke and just were honest. You're like, oh, I forgot my clicker. Hold on. Let me go to the back. You go back to the tech person and get it. Meanwhile, you left me on stage.
I did. I said, Steve, keep talking.
So I just started making something up. And then you came back on. And then fast forward a few hours, there's a happy hour thing later. And what would you know? There's a crowd of people around you. No one's hanging out with me. No one's waiting in line to talk to me. Everyone wants Sunday. But what we joked about later is a lot of them, the first thing they said was the clicker.
They said, I liked you right away when you forgot the clicker.
Yeah. What a great...
And I did not do that on purpose.
You didn't, but it will forever stick with me as And I'm a person who actually kind of does that a lot naturally
Yeah.
anyway. And still, it was really impactful. Like, man, those moments, that is where the connection happens. So don't be afraid of them. And if they happen, roll with it.
Roll with it.
It can actually be a good thing. We didn't plan to go there, but
I love that. No, I actually forgot that happened. It was really
one of my
funny.
favorite,
It was really funny. All right. So I feel like I covered 3 key tips, and I would say that how greenhouse can actually help. I just love to throw that out there because some of you listen and go, oh no, she's touching on something I seriously need help on here.
Yeah.
So if you go to greenhousecoaching.co, we in our membership, we have a course, Land Your Ideal Job, lots of tips, but we have one specifically about interviewing. And I actually remember we added a whole nother video on the whole remote experience because the world changed and we were like, we gotta speak to this, right?
Yeah.
But if you're really struggling, I will tell you that people sign up to do a mock interview with me or one of our other coaches. And guess what? We're doing it virtually. So we're going to be able to tell you how you're coming across and what we could do to improve that.
It's the best. It's a safe place to fail and kind of do your stumbling there and fix it and get ready and prepared and feel really confident going into the real thing. And also you're able to help them practice these different tips you're talking about.
Yep.
The other thing I want to mention, if you are in this interview mode, you're probably thinking about what's next. And maybe sometimes people are unsure, like, okay, I'm job searching, but I don't actually know what I'm looking for, or I don't actually know like what I need in terms of income or, what would be a more fulfilling job than the last or whatever. All these things, we have a tool. It's a simple set of questions that you can download for free called the Career Transition Planner. And it just helps you to start thinking through this stuff. And then you have an opportunity to hop on with a coach and kind of debrief what to do with all that. So that's another thing that's just linked in the show notes.